who have done it a number of times before.
There has never been
Bush v.
a
Gore?
president. Again, that was in the state triggers a recount at a certain level, which is what Josh Shapiro came out and said. So it's within 0.5%. There are still 17,000 outstanding ballots.
Yeah, but if you count the invalid ballots, then you're within the number.
Interactions from 2019. She provided very detailed testimony during the civil lawsuit that Representative Dorworth brought against the minor and Joel Greenberg, alleging that they had defamed him.
The Fox propaganda outlet is just that. Donald Trump's propaganda hub to push his lies, conspiracies, and defend him, no matter how indefensible his actions are. But to a point, there are some instances when Donald Trump goes even too far from Fox. And we just saw that today because Fox has decided that one of Donald Trump's cabinet selections is a little too extreme for even them, because a MAGA Fox anchor openly came out against one of Donald Trump's cabinet nominees in a clip that is surely upsetting him. And we are going to get into all of that. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way, and it really means the world to me now. Of course, this cabinet nominee is Matt Gaetz, the most extreme, dangerous, and unqualified potentially of them all, which is saying a lot considering RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard have also been nominated. But before we get into what this Fox host had to say, I think we should do a little bit of an update on the Matt Gaetz story, an incredibly damning report out of CNN in this clip right here.
Is back with me. Of course, last night on this show, he revealed how his two clients testified that then Congressman Matt Gaetz paid them both for sex on apps, including Venmo and PayPal, that one of the women also witnessed Gaetz having sex with her 17-year-old friend on an air hockey table at a party. Allegations Gaetz denies. So, Joel, let me just start with the breaking news at this moment that we understand multiple confidential files that had been basically stored on a secure online system have been breached, and that would be sworn testimony from the woman about the 17-year-old, your clients, others. A lot of information about them would be a part of that. How damaging would all of this be if it comes out, all the information that you know, to Matt Gaetz?
Well, the depositions of my client lasted over 6 hours, so it was a very extensive testimony from the very beginning of July 2017 throughout her interactions from 2019. She provided very detailed testimony during the civil lawsuit that Representative Dorworth brought against the minor and Joel Greenberg, alleging that they had defamed him.
Joel Greenberg, of course, is serving time.
That's right.
Now, and you describe his role in all of this as what?
So Joel Greenberg was essentially responsible, or did have access to seeking arrangements, and he would essentially meet the women in seeking arrangements and then would introduce them to the other individuals in his group.
All right, and this group of people, which included your clients, can I ask you just to explain your clients? And obviously, you had talked about how they saw then Representative Matt Gaetz, at that time around 35, having sex with a 17-year-old on the air hockey table. When did your clients first meet him?
Yeah, so my client first met Representative Gaetz at that party in July of 2017. She was invited by her friend who had met Joel Greenberg, and she attended that party back in July in 2017, and she first met Representative Gaetz then. My other client met Representative Gaetz at a party that she was invited to by Joel Greenberg later that same year in December of 2017. All
right, so they met back in 2017. These interactions continued for a couple of years. And when you look back at it, and he was paying them for these sexual encounters, how much did he pay them?
When my clients provided testimony to the House, they put up on the screen a list of the Venmo and PayPal transactions directly from Representative Gaetz to my clients. For one of the clients, it was a little over $6,000. For another client, it was a little over $4,000.
So a little over $10,000 to your clients from him directly.
That's correct.
Now, of course, every bit of information that we learn about Matt Gaetz is even more damning and damaging to the already impossible case for why he should be anywhere close to the DOJ, besides investigated, of course, by the DOJ. But we also have to think about his complete lack of experience in prosecution. Matt Gaetz is unqualified, and Matt Gaetz is out of control. Matt Gaetz is a criminal. This should not even be a discussion. This is potentially the most extreme cabinet nomination in history. And that's why it was too far for even Trey Gowdy, who had to say this on Fox.
Trey, what do you think about, like, during this campaign, Trump kept talking about lawfare, and a lot of his allies did as well. And you've watched his various court cases, and I don't know how you felt about the documents case in Florida, or the Jack Smith thing in Washington, D.C. coming after January 6th. But when you look at all of them and think that there's a possibility they could all be now dissolved, 0 for 4. I mean, you're a man of the law. That's your profession. What do you think of how this went?
Do not use the justice system as a weapon. And the message for Republicans is don't do it on the other side either with this absurd AG pick that you just made. The justice is different. It is a combination of policy, law, and also morality. You do not use our justice system as a political weapon. Voters rejected it in November, and they're going to reject it if Republicans try to do it also. Some things rise above the den. The justice system is one of those things.
Trey Gowdy, it's always good to see you. There's going to be a lot happening today, so no doubt we will see you again. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Trey.
You know you are extreme when you have lost one of your Fox propagandists in, and Trey Gowdy is, right? Matt Gaetz is too extreme. Now, I didn't like that. He tried to invoke some idea, some false equivalency that Matt Gaetz wanting to go after Donald Trump's political enemies explicitly is the same as Merrick Garland half-heartedly prosecuting Donald Trump for crimes that he actually did commit. Those aren't equal in any respect. But he certainly is right that Matt Gaetz would be a political appointee. He would go after Donald Trump's enemies, and he would be incredibly dangerous. He is too extreme. Fox knows it. Republicans know it. Shouldn't that be enough now? I don't know if they will go forward with confirming Matt Gaetz in the Senate, likely, considering how spineless Republicans are, but there is certainly worry from Donald Trump as well. And I know he is unhappy about Trey Gowdy saying what he did about Matt Gaetz. But it's not just him. The rest of Donald Trump's nominees are also extreme and dangerous and threaten our relationship with other nations. They're an embarrassment, just like Donald Trump is. And that's why it's so crazy to me that Fox is trying to spin their own narrative right now about who's actually embarrassing the country. And you can see Jessica Taroff called that out in this clip right here.
And then you kept doing it. And Josh Shapiro was like, oh, we don't want to disenfranchise people after the first decision by the Supreme Court. Then the Supreme Court comes down a second time and says, hey, dummies. Let's be clear on this. You cannot count the vote if the envelope or the ballot itself doesn't have a date on it. You know, so I think it's arrogance, and it is just an example of how we got into this mess and why the Democrats lost.
Is that true, Jessica? You have 1 second to respond.
No. Did I win?
Yeah.
So in terms of behaving by the rules, let's take a trip down memory lane. Back to 2020, when we spent months in a sea of election denialism, where the Republicans, led by Donald Trump, who I think still thinks that he was president through those last 4 years, brought lawsuits across the board in states like Pennsylvania, dozens of them, and courts laughed those attorneys out of office, and a lot of them have been charged.
But if you go down the lane of whataboutism, you can go even before that with Democrats.
Really?
Who have done it a number of times before.
There has never been a president. Again, that was in the state triggers a recount at a certain level, which is what Josh Shapiro came out and said. So it's within 0.5%. There are still 17,000 outstanding ballots.
Yeah, but if you count the invalid ballots, then you're within the number.
Okay. So there have been a number of courts who have validated this rule that Bob Casey is trying to argue. And I'm not saying that Bob Casey won this race. Dave McCormick has an office with his name on it, and he is going to the Senate, and Bob Casey lost.
In your face.
But even up until the Third U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals has ruled that you can count ballots that don't have the proper dating on the outside. Now, again, Bob Casey lost this election. Kamala Harris lost this election. And what did she do? She conceded, and Joe Biden sat down with him like 20 minutes later, spent a couple hours, shooting the breeze with old Hitler.
Was that a breeze?
Was it wind or was it a breeze? But you can't expect to be taken seriously saying that the Republicans are the one that respect the rules when it comes to...
Why won't Casey concede?
What? I think that he should concede, but
No,
it doesn't.
he didn't.
There is a, yes,
He didn't.
I said Bob Casey, Eric Hovda, like Hoda with a V. He just conceded. He's lost to Tammy Baldwin for over a week, but he's running around saying, we got to check. So please, there is a recount because that's how the rules work, like there was in Florida, and then Al Gore conceded, and we had the beautiful Bush years.
They're trying to count illegal ballots.
Yeah, that's all there. Jesse,
Yeah.
speaking of undated, what do you think about this?
Oh, I'm dated. This is why you guys are so insufferable, Jessica. Because
You mean women? You're so sexist.
Liberal women.
specifically liberal women. No,
Really just talk about projection here. So what Jessica was referencing in the beginning of that clip was the incredibly tight Senate race in Pennsylvania, where of course, as it does in every state, in every election, every vote counts, but especially because this race is so tight. Democrats want ballots to continue to be counted as they should be. Republicans want the opposite. And somehow they're trying to compare that to Donald Trump, trying to overturn the will of millions of voters, have hundreds of thousands of votes thrown out. They're saying that's the same as Democrats wanting votes counted. These people can't be taken seriously, and we know that. And that's why we're calling them out every single day on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video, and if you're stuck around at the end, you can drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.